Hi, mathletes, and welcome to Question of the Week, week number 2. Are you ready to stretch your brain? Today's question comes from the workbook Problem Solving Experience in Mathematics. 2 men and 2 women teach at Marvelous Middle School. Their names are Annie, Diane, John, and Mark. One teaches art, one teaches English, one teaches math, and one teaches science. From the following clues, name the subject each person teaches. So Diane's brother teaches science and is married to the English teacher. The art teacher is an only child, and both Mark and the math teacher are single. So grab a paper and pencil and see if you can solve this. And then once you're done, you can resume the video and see what I got. Okay, so what I did is I made a table and I used some logical reasoning. So here's my table. For the top row, I put the names of the classes. So we have art, English, math, and science. And then in the first column, I put the teachers' names, Annie, Diane, John, and Mark. And then I looked at the first clue. And the first clue is Diane's brother teaches science and is married to the English teacher. That means that Diane cannot teach science if her brother does. So I'm going to put an X where Diane and science intersect. And I know that he's married to the English teacher, so he's not married to Diane, and the only other woman is Annie, so Annie must be the English teacher. So I'll put an O there to show that Annie is the English teacher. If Annie's the English teacher, that means Annie cannot teach art, math, or science. And it also means that Diane, John, and Mark cannot teach English. Let's go to the second clue. The art teacher is an only child. So that means that the art teacher cannot be Diane because Diane has a brother. Remember, her brother teaches science. So that means Diane is not the art teacher, which means she must teach math because that's all that's left. And if she teaches math, that means John and Mark cannot teach math. Now we're at the last clue. Both Mark and the math teacher are single. We know the math teacher is Diane. Diane is single, and that means that Mark is also single. But Diane's brother teaches science, and he is married. So that means Mark has to teach art. So we can put an X for science, and Mark teaches art. That means that John cannot teach art, so John has to teach science. So Annie is the English teacher, Diane the math teacher, John is the science teacher, and Mark teaches art. I hope you enjoyed that. If you want, I've got an extension for you. Let's stretch our brains just a little bit more. And here's your extension. We're going to replace clue number 3 with the following. Mark is married to the science teacher's sister, and we're going to see if we can still solve it. I'm still going to use the same table, and here are the results from the first problem. Again, you can pause the video, and when you're ready, just resume. Okay, so here I replaced it with Mark is married to the science teacher's sister. And here's what we got from our first clue. We figured out that Annie was the English teacher. And from the second clue, we figured out that Diane was the math teacher. So for the third clue, it says Mark is married to the science teacher's sister. So if Mark is married to the science teacher's sister, that means Mark cannot be teaching science. So that would put an X for the science, and Mark would be the art teacher, which means John would be the science teacher. And it looks like we can solve the problem. And does the solution change? No, it still is the same. I hope that you enjoyed this. And if you did, you can click the like button and please subscribe to this so that you can get these every week. Remember, if it felt tricky, that means that your brain grew.